Hello and welcome back to Let the Stone Speak. I'm Brent Nagtegaal, your host. Earlier today, I went over to Hebrew University to interview Professor Uzi Leibner. He's the head of the Institute of Archaeology at Hebrew University. He is also the director of the Ophel excavations. These are some of the most important excavations. I'm not biased. Actually, I am. I believe these are the most important excavations in Israel, just because of the proximity to the very important areas in Israel's history. And Professor Leibner, he's the director of this dig. It happens every summer now. We're about to dig in about 2 months' time. And so I thought it would be worth talking to him about a preview of the upcoming summer's excavation, what we hope to find, what are some of the research questions, and of course a look back at what we discovered last summer as well. So I hope you really enjoy this interview from Hebrew University with Professor Uzi Leibner. Professor Leibner, thanks very much for taking your time with us.
My pleasure.
So this is going to be a preview of the upcoming season of the Ophel excavations. First of all, perhaps you could talk about what is the Ophel, what's the general significance of this area?
So the Ophel is a mainly public area situated right at the foot of the Temple Mount, between the Temple Mount and the city of David. And the main gates to the Temple Mount in the Second Temple period were situated in the southern wall right above the Ophel. So this is the area where all the pilgrims, and we assume that most of the transit into the Temple Mount would come through, and it's full with public structures, infrastructure, streets, staircases, and so on, all designed to handle the masses coming up to the Temple Mount.
So in terms of the period that we're focusing on, or you're focused on in the past seasons, and then also this coming season, this is all the Second Temple period that we're talking about mainly?
It's mainly the Second Temple period. The area that we are excavating currently is covered with a very dense Byzantine period neighborhood, domestic. Mainly 5th and 6th centuries CE. Mm-hmm. And our plan and what we started to do was to dismantle a few points in this neighborhood to reach down to the Second Temple period. There's a gap between the Second Temple period layer, which ends abruptly in the year 70, a gap of a few hundreds of years till the settlement resumes in this area somewhere in the late 4th or early 5th century. So our goal is to reach down to the Second Temple period.
So maybe you can talk about, this is your second season there, of course. You were with us last year and leading the team. What did you discover? What did we discover last season? Key discoveries from just that short excavation.
Okay, so first of all, we are continuing and stepping into Eilat Mazar's huge project, which she handled for years. And she started excavating here almost a decade ago. And in 2018, which was her last season before she passed away, she started uncovering, where we're working currently, uncovering the entrances to a monumental building, a very lavish, elaborate building. Mm-hmm. Dated to the late Second Temple period. We don't have the exact date yet, but somewhere probably in the late 1st century BCE, early 1st century CE, mm-hmm. Which is located right at the bottom of the staircase leading up to the eastern Hulda gate, which was one of the main entrances to the temple. This is the area of the eastern Hulda gate, and our excavation is right here. The staircase climbed down to this area, and we're right near the base of this presumed staircase, or the area where it ended. And what we found last season, we started to excavate inside this building, mm-hmm. and underneath the building. And it's indeed, it seems well preserved. It's a beautiful structure. We don't have yet a clear sense of what is the function, mm-hmm. of this building. What is clear, it has at least two different rooms to which you descend into. You go down staircases, and our main mission for this season in this area is to dismantle a Byzantine domestic structure which is built on top of this lavish Second Temple period structure, in order to reach down, to descend and reach the Second Temple period, and to get a better sense of the plan of this early structure and its function.
So how rare is it in terms of this whole area of the Ophel, southern wall of the Temple Mount, to find a structure with this 70 CE destruction preserved, sitting on top of a monumental building?
So actually, we don't have a lot. It's very rare in this area of the Ophel to find well-preserved Second Temple period structures still standing to a significant height. We should admit that the whole eastern part, the major excavations of Benjamin Mazar, we're talking about 50 years ago, almost did not descend down to the Second Temple period. So
they didn't go deep enough, is what you're saying, in this area.
Exactly. So there's a huge potential in this area for discoveries maybe similar to what Mazar found on the western side, where he found streets and staircases and reservoirs and so on, shops.
Right.
But we're really at the beginning of this project. This season, we will have a new co-director together with me, Dr. Orit Peleg-Barkat, here from the Institute. She's an expert on Second Temple period Jerusalem. And we will focus on this monumental building and the subsurface, because what we learned last season is that underneath this monumental building is a very sophisticated and complex subterranean world of tunnels, reservoirs. They mostly seem to be meant for water keeping or channeling. We don't have yet a clear sense of where the water came from and where did it go to.
Right.
And we hope this season to continue underground to get a better understanding of this part. We are going to open additional areas this season, one big area and one small area.
So in terms of last season compared to this season, there's a step up in the size and the magnitude of the excavations.
Exactly. So first of all, we're going to be on a much larger scale. We have a combination of the Armstrong College students coming from abroad, Hebrew University students with their tutorial excavation, volunteers coming from around the world. So we hope to be around 25 or 30 people on site on a daily basis. Last season, our main conclusion was that this area in the Second Temple period ended in a dramatic destruction in the year 70. And one of the major finds are numerous coins of the Jewish revolt of the year 66 to 70. We have dozens of such coins, including a very rare silver shekel or half shekel of the revolt. And it seems, again, that this whole area was destroyed in the year 70 and then was abandoned for a few centuries and then resettled, mainly domestic. Coming back to our plan, so the area of the monumental building, which we call Area D, has superstructure and a subterranean part. Another new area that we are opening is near the eastern corner of the southern wall of the Temple Mount. That means that we're climbing up one terrace, coming closer to the Temple Mount, and this is an area which is also populated by Byzantine structures, but we see already before our excavations, we see at their surface below, we see they're already peaking a few walls that, based on their orientation, they seem to be Second Temple period. So
same period as the big building, monumental structure from below.
Exactly. So we have great expectations for this new area. Again, it's right opposite the corner, the eastern corner. The western corner of the Temple Mount was very, very rich with finds from the late Second Temple period. We can only hope that maybe something similar will come up also in this area. This is the second area we're excavating. A third area, which is it's much smaller. It's actually an area that we're not planning to totally uncover or expose. It's just to do some sections and to figure out some questions, is the area right beneath the edge of the Hulda stairs. In this area, Benjamin Mazal uncovered what was published as a monastery, the Monastery of the Virgins. Mm-hmm. And in his diaries, and later on his granddaughter Eilat, when she published this, that's the way she published, he said, or he claimed that in the monastery, which was built in the 5th century, probably, there are segments of walls dated back to the Second Temple period of an important structure which stood right at the gate of the temple. He found a fragment of an inscription which mentions probably the Zkenim, the elders. And he connected this suggestion that maybe there's some sort of a court that's sitting at the entrance of the temple gate, which something that we know is mentioned in rabbinic literature of later periods, mentioning or remembering this court at the temple gate. So he suggested that this may be an option. Unfortunately, he did not leave any evidence for the dating of these segments of the walls back to the Second Temple period. So what we're planning to do is to cut a few sections to the foundations of these walls to check if indeed they should be dated back to the Second Temple period, and try to figure out what, if indeed this is the picture, what can we say about what stood here in the 1st century CE. One of our main goals of the projects as a whole is to try to depict or understand how this whole area was designed in order to accommodate these masses of people arriving 3 times a year. Where the sources are talking about tens of thousands of people, even millions. It's probably exaggerated, but we can definitely talk about thousands and thousands of people coming up this area 3 times a year. So how was this area organized in order to handle this
is a busy place.
Massive traffic?
Right.
So in terms of infrastructure, in terms of ritual baths, in terms of supplying water to all these pilgrims, shops, money changer, whatever we can say about the organization of the pilgrimage to the temple in the late Second Temple period.
So this is a season that starts when, and how long is it going to go for? And then I don't think you want to speak about 2024 yet, but you did take volunteers this excavation this season and excavation season. It's too late for people to sign up. We're full.
Right, we're fully booked. Fortunately, this is going to be a very long season. We're planning 7 weeks of excavations starting at June 18th. We'll start with 2 weeks of mainly dismantling modern and Byzantine walls before we reach the floors for 2 weeks, and then 5 weeks of excavation going till the beginning of August.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for your time taking a preview for us.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much for watching to the end of the interview with Professor Leibner. Thank you very much to him for the time he took to talk to us about the upcoming dig on the Ophel here in Jerusalem. We produce the Let the Stone Speak magazine. This is similar to the podcast, except obviously it's more in depth when you can write things down and have very helpful graphics. This issue was the one we produced last summer after the last season of the excavations on the Ophel. We're hoping to put more up or more in the Let the Stone Speak magazine of things that we discover on the Ophel excavations as well. It's a magazine that you can receive for free. Of course, we cover more than just what happens in Jerusalem. This is about biblical archaeology and biblical history from the whole region. This is a magazine, again, 6 times per year, absolutely free for you, for the taking if you desire. And if you want to get a copy, go ahead and write an email to letters@armstronginstitute.org, letters@armstronginstitute.org. Simply put your name and address and we'll make sure you get a free subscription. Or you can go to our website, armstronginstitute.org, and just scroll down. You'll find a place to put in your details so that you can receive the magazine that way. Thank you again for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.